All right. Um, Hello, everyone. Um, People have not started joining, but let me try to share the link.
Okay.
Uh, so I can see people joining already. Yeah. Hello, Scholar Musba. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, sir. Good evening. Can you hear me, sir?
Okay. So I'm trying to send message on. Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Good
Yeah.
afternoon, Scholar Abdullah.
Please, can you help us send to people that we are live already?
All right. I will drop it now. All right.
Hmm? Yeah.
Yeah, I will do that. I will do that right away.
Thank you. All right. So let's just wait for few minutes, for 2 to 3 minutes, so that we can have people join us, more people join us. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, and welcome to this session of the monthly webinar series of the HISF. Thank you for joining us. Before we start, we would like to wait for a few minutes as our people continue to join us. We would like to have as many as possible so that we can reach out to a lot of people who are interested in applying to this scholarship. All right, thank you for joining us. All right. All right. So we already have more people joining us. All right. Yes, thank you. So we don't want to waste more time, and instead we'll just start the program. All right. Again, welcome to this month's session of monthly webinar series held by the Hotspot International Student Forum, where we come here to discuss different kind of scholarship and how to apply. So today is another interesting session of the webinar where we are going to be discussing about the Chevening Scholarship. As we all know that the Chevening Scholarship is currently open, and here we have an amazing scholar who is going to tell us about how to tailor our application and position ourselves for a successful application. Okay. And whether you are about to start the application newly or you started your application, you just wanted to, know more about it so that you can refine your application. So this is the right program for you. This is the right um, class for you to sit and listen to this amazing scholar. All right, so I'll be introducing the scholar in few seconds, even as more people join. All right. So today we have an amazing scholar. His name is Scholar Abdullahi Adebayo. He's going to be our speaker today. And Scholar Abdullahi Adebayo is a certified project management professional, program manager, and Chevening scholar with over 7 years of leadership experience in public policy, governance, civic technology, and climate justice across Africa. He has proven expertise in managing projects focused on transparency, public finance reform, and social development. Scholar Abdullahi is studying for a master's in public policy at the Essex MPP at the prestigious Masters in Public Policy, the Essex MPP at the prestigious University of Essex in the United Kingdom, and holds several certifications from the IMF and the University of Cambridge. He is focused on sustainable development, open and accountable democratic governance, public sector innovation, and AI policy in Africa. Join me to welcome this amazing scholar from the University of Essex, who is going to be telling us about how to tailor our application, how to prepare our application for Chevening Scholarship, specifically how to position ourselves strategically for success in this amazing scholarship. Join me as we welcome this amazing scholar. While I will hand over to him in a moment, I want to implore you all to sit quietly and write down as we hear from this amazing scholar. And at the end of his presentation, let us prepare our questions so that he can answer them all. Please, I want to implore you all to kindly drop your question in the comment section. And at the end of his presentation, I will read them out for him to answer. Thank you, and over to you, Scholar Abdullahi. Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, thank you so much. And please, can you hear me?
Yes, sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, and good night as well from anywhere you're listening from. Once again, my name is Abdullah Adebayo. I think they've done a bit of introduction. Most times when I listen to my profile, at least some of this profile, I ask myself, like, oh, this is amazing. And most times I think I have to start, paying more attention to maybe listening to people reading my profile. Maybe that gives me a lot of inspiration as well to do more work. It's actually a pleasure to be here this afternoon to share a bit of experience with the listeners, with colleagues out there who are actually interested in becoming the next chief now, or who are actually interested in applying for this scholarship. Apparently, I would be talking more from the perspective of uh, more like my personal story around chevening. And of course, I have a slide there. Mostly, I feel for me, I believe it's necessary. I can always speak to Chevening even without having a presentation, without using a presentation slide. But then I think it's also necessary so that we can have something to bank on moving forward. So this is just about 15 slides or thereabouts. And of course, let's say even less than 15, because there are some that are more like introductory and also like that. So to give us an insight into what Chevening is all about, and of course, why it's necessary, why we should also, why it's more prestigious. Because to be frank with you, it's one of the most competitive scholarship in the world. Let me say it's even the only most like highly competitive scholarship in the world. A scholarship that has less than 1% chance of getting it. Because take for instance where you have data about annually it's always been around less than a percentage of applicants who used to get into Chevening. In this year, if those coming in this September now, they have over 100,000 applicants across the globe, and just about on 1,000 people were selected. So that's about just a percentage of that number. I also remember last year, during my own application, if you look at it from the global perspective, we have over 70,000 applicants, and of course, about 1,000 people were also selected. That's about 1 point something percent. But if you take it down to the country level in Nigeria, it's very funny where we have close to 11,000 applications across Nigeria as a country, and just 32 scholars were selected out of that. That's about 0.3%. So for you to know how competitive uh, the, the entire Chevening Scholarship used to be. But I'm not saying this to scare anybody. I'm only saying this just to get our mind prepared, just to put us at that, frame of mind that, we need to bring in all our A games into applying for this opportunity. But to be honest with you, it's actually worthwhile because there are a lot of things around Chevening. Chevening is not just the normal scholarship application. It's a family. It's a brand on its own. It has this. There's this coordinated alumni. It's a whole scholarship opportunity that has a coordinated alumni network. Across the whole world. Where we have over 50,000 leaders, scholars, and of course, currently we've had a lot of people who have passed through Chevening and now top leaders in different parts of the world, in their respective country. Currently, Chevening has produced 21 head of states across board, and of course, which shows the significance of how that scholarship is all about. So this is just about the outline. This slide is just speaking to the outline, just and which we'll be moving forward to. I mean, we'll be looking into moving. So that's what I have here is about what does Chevening scholarship entails. So this is just more like an overview of what Chevening Scholarship is all about. For me, I believe for anybody who actually want to apply for Chevening should have, combed their website very well to understand and to know the entire thing around Chevening. Please, can you go to the previous slide? Yeah. So I've combed through the website to be able to know what exactly does the scholarship. I mean, what is exactly the scholarship is all about? What does it really entails, and also like that. So this is just one like an overview. So it's a flagship fully funded scholarship managed by the FCDU. That's the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office of the UK government, to enable leaders across 160 nations to pursue a master's degree in the UK. So it's of course certainly it's a fully funded master's that covers your full tuition fee and gives you a 12-month stipend. You also have access to travel allowance. You have access to visa. Of course, your visa is covered. Your health surcharges are certainly covered as well. The flight cost is covered, and you also have access to Chevening's events, Chevening's alumni network, and also like where you can collaborate, meet with different leaders across the world. And also currently, like I said earlier, we have over 50,000 global alumni across the globe, and currently about 21 head of state has been produced from this pool of network of people. It used to be 20 before, but the current Prime Minister of Namibia becomes the 21st, head of state, who is actually also a Chevening alumni. So it's for you to see how strong this scholarship is about, and certainly, why there's a lot of competition around. People want to get into this network, people want to tap into the access that this network actually offer. So it's for you to see how why you really need to bring in all your A games into applying for this opportunity. Next slide. So, talking about the eligibility, certainly, business slide. Certainly, I feel like we should have, of course, certainly come through to understand who are those eligible. And I would be talking to this, and because Chevening makes a bit of changes in the application this year. Last year, there is a bit of change. Those who applied last year, yeah, they bit, I would say, they actually enjoyed some benefits because as at last year application, if you want to apply for Chevening only needs you to have 2 years work experience. But this year's application, there is a lot to the 2 years experience, but it's not just 2 years experience. I mean, it's now 2 years post undergraduate experience. That is what it's all about. I know initially you can be in school, you can have some sort of experience that maybe while you were in school, in as much is not part of a requirement for you to get your undergraduate certificate. So you can actually use that for achievement. That was previous years, but currently now there's been a bit of tweak around it where, like, the minimum one is talking about the eligibility. You must be a citizen of chiefly eligible country, and of course, which you can also check on their website to see what are those countries that are eligible. Apparently, there are numbers of countries that are actually eligible to apply for chiefly. Like I said, it's over 160 countries. Then you have another one. You must have just one I was talking about, a minimum of 2,800 hours of work. That's approximately 2 years work experience with maximum of 60 hours in a week. That is for them. I understand some people you might be working in some sector where you probably work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That's all around the clock. Some people can be working about 9 hours in a day and they work for 6, 7 days. I understand some people can do 10 hours in a day and they work for that's about the maximum number of hours that Chieftain expects you to work in a week. It's 60. So anything excluding, above that 60, I'm sorry, I don't think it really counts for them. So you should be able to look into that benchmark that, okay, this is what you have. So take it to the next one that talks about, you should have an undergraduate degree that meets the entry requirements for a UK master's program, which certainly means that, you should have, certainly, uh, graduated from a university from an undergraduate degree that give you access into any of the UK master's program. So it might be so you need to look into the schools you also want to apply for. What are their requirements? What do they actually need? Some of them will tell you they only can their entry requirement is first class and second class upper alone. Some accept second class lower. Some perhaps accept third class. So you need to also know what exactly, like, does it look like, what's the entry level requirements into most of this program, specifically for the master's program. And the fourth one talks about you must apply to a minimum of one and a maximum of three UK schools. So certainly, and have an at least one unconditional offer before the deadline of the education. So this is talking about uh, certainly around you applying to schools, because how Chevening works, you apply to schools separately and you also apply to the schools you want to go to separately. But yeah, there's one of the essay that covers that asks you a question about why do you choose the schools you want to go to, because you're going to list your school of interest in your application. So you must make sure you have at least one unconditional offer from any of these three institutions. So the advice I give people most times is the fact that why you also want to go to top schools, it's necessary you look at the categories of the schools you're applying for. You probably want to do, maybe your first choice might be one of the Ivy League schools, the top schools in the world. Looking at Oxford, looking at LSE, looking at Cambridge. Those are perhaps and of course sometimes they have a very strict admission requirements, which perhaps might disenfranchise some people there. But while you're also doing that, you should not put all your egg in one basket. You probably also want to use, maybe your second choice of school might be like a mid-class school, and your third choice of school might be maybe some sort of school that the entry level, I mean the admission level is not as as strict as so crazy like that. So you probably also want to look into that as well, to just to make sure that at least you have one unconditional offer by the deadline. Yeah, some people will ask that, what do you mean by unconditional offer? Yes, there are some admission offers that perhaps might be subject to some condition. The conditions might be English test. Maybe the school requires you to write an English test exam. Some might ask you to provide some references. Some might ask you to provide transcript from the school. Some might ask you to pay deposit. But if the require, I mean, the conditional requirements is financials, that is deposit. You can just tell the school that you are applying for Chevening, because virtually all the schools knows about Chevening, and they know that Chevening covers all tuition fee and everything, which I'm certainly sure it's going to be waived for you. So if it's financials, but if the condition is not financials, then you certainly need to find a way to meet up with all those condition, and ensure that you have an unconditional one, at least one unconditional offer for many of the schools that you apply for. And the last year about eligibility criteria is that you must not be a British citizen, or you must not work with a UK government related personnel, or maybe you have a professional, you have a relative that actually work with them, or perhaps maybe you've benefited from any of their previous funded scholarship as well, so you can't apply for cheap. Let's say for instance you've applied for, what's the name, Commonwealth. You're a you benefited from Commonwealth scholarship before, and you're like, you still want to apply for cheap. No, you have to pick one. Commonwealth is also funded by the UK government, so you certainly can't apply for cheap. Or maybe you benefited from Marshall before, which is also funded by the UK government, so you can't apply for cheap anymore. So you need to pick one out of that. So that's on the what's the name, eligibility criteria. So let's talk about the priority focus of the scholarship. So the question is, what are the priority focus of the scholarship? So I will talk about the slide, please. So I think the scholarship now, of course, they actually, there's, like I said, there is a lot of tweak to Chevening scholarship application this year. And one thing they do is that, they're able to also put some sort of more priorities. They have a global priorities. Initially, UK government has, even till now, they have different priority areas in different countries. So, which is also very, very paramount to them, when it comes to Chevening application. So, most times we advise that, for an applicant, if you're applying for Chevening, you should always find a way to tie your application to the UK government's priority in your home country, which is very, very key and very, very important. And at the end also as well, in this application, they also make it more easier for people by listing out, even if you visit the website of Chevening, you're certainly going to see most of these priority area there. So which is actually spelled out there. This is what they are looking into globally, and of course what they are also domesticating across different countries and the world. So if you look at it here, what does the priority area of UK government and FCDO and Chevening FCDO in across the globe? The first one is to talk about promoting growth and prosperity. So as we move forward, please kindly note all this priority data, because we will be applying them in all the applications. Yeah, certainly not that you should apply or you should tie your application to all of them. You should be able to identify one thing, one priority area that you're actually working in line with. Let's say you've identified a problem you're solving, and find a way to tie that problem you're solving to one of these priority areas. So that is what you need to get, to become the next, Chevening scholar. So the first one here, we have promoting growth and prosperity. We also have another priority area that talks about building climate resilience. So certainly, for many people who works around climate change issue, environmental sustainability, climate governance, and also like that. So climate resilience, you should be able to find a way to tie this problem you're solving to building climate resilience, and for growth and prosperity as well. For people who actually work around, different projects, or solutions that work into economic growth, prosperity, employment opportunity, empowerment opportunities, and also like that. You also be able to find a way to tie that into growth and prosperity. And also the third one, we have strengthening security and stability. So this is actually looking into people working around peace, uh, development, fighting conflict, and also like that in different ways, different projects. You probably know that, oh, the work you're doing, how do you tie it to any of this priority area? And the fourth priority area we have here is talking about supportive, inclusive, and efficient society. Perhaps this is also looking into inclusion, persons with disability, maybe inclusion in governance, inclusion in uh, gender equality, and also different things that talks about inclusion, effective society that talks about strengthening governance, strengthening accountability, and most of all, like, so these are things that you should be able to look into. How do you think the solution, the problem you're solving, the solution you are providing as a leader, the little solution you're providing as a leader in your community, how do you take it, tie it to global priority of UK government, and for them to know that, okay, fine, you're doing something, and as in a little way you can in your own capacity in your local community, and you're worth us, you're worth a 50,000 pounds investment to further your education, to acquire more knowledge, more skills that you can also leverage to make more impact in your society. So that is why you're pitching. That is why you're applying for Chevening. Because let me be frank with you, the value or the worth of Chevening Scholarship is over £50,000 per candidate. So the value of what £50,000 is all about. For someone to say, I want to invest that in you to go study in my country, certainly you should know that it's really, really needed to bring in like the key games that you really want to bring on to the table to be able to get this done. Next slide. So now let's move to the real application itself. What are the tips? What do we need? How do we ensure that we're able to write a strong application? How do we ensure that we're able to write that application that we can leverage, that we can always fall back on? I mean, that we can confidently say that yes, I would get to the interview level, and from there you can also say that yes, I'm going to get the scholarship. But before I move into sharing tips, I'm also discussing the themes of the essays and well sharing some tips around how to apply for this essay. I just want to say this, that and this is the reality. Earlier I talked about that the chance of the chances of getting, the probability of getting Chevening is about 1%. So which means that for every application that Chevening will receive annually, they only have 1% chance of getting the opportunity, which means 99% of people would be rejected. But then that is the reality. Like I said, it is not to scare us, but it's to prepare our mind, prepare our thinking, prepare our psychology around getting, putting together what is needed to be among that 1% people that would actually get, the opportunity. So that's the reason why we're doing this scholarship. I mean, this session. But like I said, the 99% people as well, it does not really mean that that is the end of the world. You can always apply. I always tell people one thing: some people will be lucky to get Chevening on their first application, while some might be unlucky to get it on their first application. But they really need to persevere, keep doing the work they're doing, keep growing, keep evolving, and keep learning. And then, perhaps if you have the zeal to keep applying, certainly you can, keep doing your best and keep applying. For me personally, I actually applied 4 times. I applied to Chevening, 4 good years. I got Chevening on my fourth application, apparently. The first application, I couldn't get it. The second one, I was shortlisted for interview. I got to the interview stage, but unfortunately couldn't get Chevening. The third application, the same thing. I was shortlisted for interview and they couldn't get Chevening. But on my fourth application, I was shortlisted for interview. I passed the interview and I got Chevening. So it's for you to know that. So it's more like a spirit of resilience, that the determination that I really want to get this. I want to be in that community. I want to explore the community And I believe that the community is the best link for me to be able to achieve, what I really need to achieve in life, the impact I want to make, the set of things I really want to do that I've outlined to say this is what my career trajectory should look like. This is the number of impacts I want to do. This is the scale why I intend to scale up, talking about enhancing governance and development across the world. My intentions can only or more be achieved through being among, getting involved in that circle of, that family, that's Chevening plan. Because I believe that's, as we move on, I believe there is need for network accessibility. And I know that the best way for me to access those networks is through Chevening. Because the brand is there already. So I really didn't need it to stay, to scale up the work I'm doing. So that's to give us that mind, like, if we don't if we apply and probably don't get it, it does not mean that's the end of the world. We probably still want to reapply, but at the same time we can explore as many as opportunities as possible. But then, it's really what to say you want to keep applying, of course. But I am sure that even if it is just 1%, the same 1% of people, I am certainly sure that at least virtually everybody on this call will probably be among that, those that 1%. Of course, that's not me prophesizing, but I'm just saying that if we pay listening attention to most of the tips we want to share, I will be talking about, I'm sure it's going to really help us, to scale our application. Next slide. So the first was the first essay for Chevening. You'll be writing 4 essays. Like I said, there is a change in Chevening's application process. Previously, the first essay, the topic doesn't change, did not change. But what actually changed there is that previously it used to be 500 words, maximum of 500 words for the application, minimum of 100, maximum of 500 words. But this year, they reduced it to minimum of 100 and maximum of 300 words for each of these essays. So initially, it used to be you write maximum of 500 words, 500 words that you have to write, for different categories of the essay. The first essay talks about leadership experience. The second essay talks about your networking skill. The third one talks about why do you want to study the course you intend to study? Why are you choosing the course? Why the course? Why the school? Why studying in the UK? And why Chevening? You see, that has like 4 questions that you really need to, discuss in that 500 word. But this year now, there's been a bit of tweak around it. You need to discuss that reason in 300 words. And at the same time, that third essay has been updated again to have you talk about what is your immediate plan. Like, what do you intend to do immediately when you finish your master's program? Maybe the first 2 years of your graduation, what are your plans? So, because Chivney really want to see you demonstrate that, explainable, that's scalable plan to say, this is what you intend to do. This is why they should invest in you. You have your plan. You just need them to invest in you to acquire these skills, and that skill will scale you from point A to point Z. So that they really want to see that plan. And that's, you need to also explain that in both the one part of your third essay and the final part of, and the whole part of your final essay, which is the fourth one that talks about your career trajectory, your career plan. So let's now talk about the leadership essay. So the leadership essay is speaking about, this is the question here that we have. It said, describe a time when you demonstrated leadership. In your answer, please address the following Please address the following. What was the context or challenges you faced? What specific actions did you take as a leader? What was the outcome? And what did you learn? How was this experience? How has this experience shaped your approach to leadership? Maximum of 300 words. Simple as that. But you see a lot of sub question in this essay that you really need to address, you need to talk about. They said, describe a time when you've demonstrated leadership. They said, describe a time, which means whatever you want to give a context around leadership, should back it up with an example of a time you've demonstrated that leadership. And they said, while you're answering that, you should talk about what was the context, like, or what was the problem that you really want to, that you solved at that particular time. what's that problem that you were facing, that you're like, okay, this is the challenge, this is the problem. So what is that specific thing that you did to solve that problem? What's the action that you take to solve the problem? And also, what is the outcome? What's the result? What actually happened? And then what do you learn from it? And also, how has that experience helped you to refine or to shape your approach to leadership? So I said there's some tips that I've noted here that can actually help us. Is that one, you should use the star hell approach, and which I, like I said, the situation which they've also explained up there in their question. What is the situation? What was the task? What was the action? What's the result? And what's the learning? Then approach, you should use that to structure your essay. I think with that, you'll be able to even maximize your word counts and even give more than one example. Because let's say, for instance, you probably want to give an example to talk about, okay, perhaps give an introductory. In that essay, you probably want to give an introductory phase about contextualizing what the problem is all about, talking about the context of what you're doing. And this, so, and then of course, you can then come specifically into the problem, the challenges that actually happen, the problem you faced at that particular time. You want to talk about, you want to, let's say for instance, let me give an example here where you like maybe okay, you're probably a community champion or an activist in your community, and they're like, oh, as a problem at a particular time, there's police brutality in your society. There's police, brutalizing. I mean, harassing young people. There's a lot of police brutality, police harassing the people in the community, young people specifically in the community. And you are like, as a leader, you talked about this, the consequence of what these are actually done in your society, what these have actually led to, what this can actually breed in this community. So one thing you did was that you identified the tasks you did. You led a team of one, two, three people. You called your people to discuss a strategy of solving this problem, of how to, navigate. To navigate these challenges, or how to provide some sort of practicable solution into solving that problem. So you probably want to talk about you mobilize young, you led a team of three, four, five people in your community to design social strategy. Maybe you probably paid an advocacy visit to the head of the police team to discuss the implication of this harassment in the society, what this can actually lead to, or maybe this can actually push more of these young people to become more terrorists, to become to lay some sort of to turn to some sort of societal unrest, and you're able to address this. You lay some practical example, and you also maybe talk about, you also maybe organize a community engagement for the young people also to discuss around this, and also give them some sort of practicable solution that they can use to evade to stop or to curb this harassment. You probably want, let's say you're like, okay, well, you also talk to them about maybe the dress code, or maybe the way they approach police officers in the society, I mean, in the community was a challenge. You also talk to them about how better they could do this. You just have to list some practicable solutions, the practicable activities that you did, that you carried out then, that are more like a solution towards solving this problem. Then you also talk about what is the result. Then what happened after you've done all this? Yeah, you then also talk about, okay, fine, after the entire this thing, about this percentage of young people change their mindsets, change their approach to society, to this issue, change the way they approach this. They did this, they did that. And also maybe to the side of the police officer too, there's some sort of reform. Maybe the head of the police team comes in and try to solve the problem. I mean, try to bring another dynamics into how this problem is being solved. You also need to tell them, at least for every action that you take to solve a problem, there will be a result. So you also need to tell them what the result is all about. And then the learning, you also want to identify what is your learning. What do you learn from it? So talk about that learning. Then overall, you also now speak about how that learning, like how the entire experience, but the learning has shaped your leadership skill. How has it turned you? How has it reformed your own mindset as well? So, like I said, the second tip I said you should use a clear problem context, which I've painted earlier. And I also talked about I also talked about or outlined specific leadership actions and tangible outcome that you've actually done. What is the actions that you took? What was the results? And also, you should reflect on how it shaped what your leadership style and connect it to your leadership journey that aligns with the priority area. Note that. So you probably want to talk about, you've talked about this is the learning, this is
Yeah,
what you've
Alpha,
gotten
more
from
problem,
this.
but
And then you also want to tell us that, okay, fine, at the end of all
yeah,
this, how that experience has shaped
it's
your
market, some
mindset,
are here.
shaped your thinking. And
Market,
so you probably want to say,
maybe the next 30 minutes.
and when you talk about how that has shaped your thinking, how it has shaped your experience, and of course, you then want to
Yes,
relate it to the identified priority area. Remember, I talked about some
no,
priority areas
no, me
earlier.
take career, but I should
So,
finish it tomorrow morning.
sorry, is it? Are you talking to me?
No, no, not you. Sorry,
Oh,
sorry.
okay, okay. Please, can you go to the previous slide back? No, I'm
Okay.
not done yet with that. Okay, yeah. So, then you also want to talk about how you relate this problem that you've solved into some of the priority areas that you've identified earlier. I talked about you identify a priority area that aligns with the work you're doing, that aligns with the solution you're providing to the society. So, you then want to relate it to say, okay, what you've done, these activities that you did, and of course, this has actually also helped you to contribute to solving problem in your community. Maybe it has helped you to solve insecurity. It has helped you to solve governance challenges. Or maybe you're doing some projects around education. How does it also help you to improve educational outcome, which is also a priority area, focus priority area of the UK government in your country. And then you also conclude to say that, oh, you've been able to do this in your own little capacity, and you're hopeful that with the Chevening Scholarship opportunity, you'll be able to scale up your work, the work you're doing, maybe from that little thing in your community to move to the entire state, in your entire state, or to move it to the entire country. So you should also let them know that, oh, you're doing fantastic work as an individual. But if they should invest in you to be able to acquire more knowledge and more skills, you will be able to do more of what you're doing. So I think that's that on what the entire leadership essay is all about. Next slide. So the second one here talked about, this is the second essay, another 300 words. Let me quickly read the story. The question says that, please tell us about a professional relationship you have built and maintained. In your answer, please address how was the relationship formed, what's made it important, what did you contribute to, what did you contribute to this relationship, and what did you gain from it? How have you sustained or developed this relationship over time? How will your how will these skills help you maintain connections within the community, within the Chevening community and beyond? 300 words. Remember, like I said again, use the style L approach to structure this essay. The situation, the task, the action, the result, and the learning. You should also keep using that because that would help you shape a concise and a concise and informative message essay in your message in your what is it in your essay. And of course, another thing that's going to help you do is that you'll also be able to manage your word counts very well. And of course, you'll also be able to republish your storytelling skill to speak to real time solution. So another tip I gave here is that discuss. So what they're asking you to do is what? Discuss a professional relationship you built, how it started, and why it's important. So well, sometimes it might be professional, sometimes it might be personal, or also you can also leverage some personal relationship that turns to a professional relationship. Note, most times I always advise people to look into what is that relationship that you've built and how have you used that relationship to solve problem. Perhaps in most times you can also find a way to connect that relationship into the problem you are solving. So I said here also another tip is outline your contribution to its success and what you've gained from it. You also want to talk about what do you contribute to that solution, to that relationship. What do you gain from it? And then explain how you've nurtured it and how you will explore such networking skills in the Chevening community in the UK and to achieve your plan within the priority area. Remember, I keep mentioning that priority area. You cannot, please don't move away from that priority layer. It is very, very important, very, very key, and very, very important. So, for everything you talked about, connect it back to how is contributing towards that priority area, how is helping you to solve the problem you've identified in that priority area. So this networking essay you want to talk about maybe a relationship you've built, or how you met the person. Maybe for instance, you attended a conference, you met person ABC, Mr. ABC, and then you're like, you sustain a relationship with this Mr. ABC, and of course, maybe then you now look around at a point, at a particular time, you want to organize something. Maybe you want to organize a career talk in your society or in your community, and you start for certain you don't have the resources to bring this professional, and you remember Mr. ABC that you've connected with in so conference, work in that sector, then you reached out to him to leverage his network to perhaps bring him in as a guest speaker, or maybe you leverage his network to facilitate a speaker for free because you don't have resources to come to speak to those young people or to speak to people in your community, which then eventually transform the life of these people and make these people. Then you talk about where you meet this person, maybe at a conference, how you connect with this person, and you keep that relationship, and how you use that relationship to solve a problem. Like, okay, this is the problem you want to solve at that particular time. You reach out to this person to get this person to come and solve this problem for you, or to help you find a way to facilitate solving this problem. And then that problem also is also contributing towards the priority area. And you can also then you conclude that same essay around talking about how you've used, yeah, you have these skills and you've used it over time in your own professional life, and then you also explain how you want to use it moving forward in the Chevening community. You probably also want to emphasize on how you want to use that your networking skill, your interpersonal relationship skill, your communication skill that you've leveraged to sustain this relationship. How you also want to use that same skill to explore the Chevening alumni community, or how you want to use that same skill to explore the alumni society in your institution alumni, maybe in your school that you're going to get in the UK to solve a problem. Do you get it? And that problem also tailor it to that same priority layer. So, all build-ups are talking about this is the problem you're solving. This is the general overall problem you're solving, that priority layer you're contributing towards. So, for every actions you're taking, they are all geared towards what? That priority layer. So, that's the holistic, that's the angle to how you can write, a very competitive, essay, achievement essay. Next slide. So we have the third here, one essay. The third question here that talks about the course of choice and global challenge. So this is talking about your course of choice. Why have you chosen the course you've thought this you want to do? So they said what? Explain your first choice of course. Here is the first one. Initially, it's just we used to explain the three and the schools, the three schools as well. But here they said you should explain the first choice of course and the university, like your first school and your first course. Why do you explain them? Please relate your answer to one of the UK priority areas for Chevening as reference on what on the Chevening website. Here on this, of course, on their it's also on their website. What is it? Then they ask you that what is the specific priority area you wish to address? Remember, you've been talking about this priority area from your first essay, your second essay. So here they're asking you, what is that priority area again? Restate it that you want to solve. How will your choosing course like equip you to contribute to addressing this thing? Certainly, of course, Chevening is not expecting you to come and solve the whole world problem. Let's say, for instance, you're talking about solving problem around peace building. They are not saying that you should come and solve the whole world problem of Ukraine and Gaza and Russia. They're not asking you to come and solve Israel and Gaza problem. Nobody's asking you to come and solve that bigger problem. But as small as the problem, that peace problem you're solving, or nobody is asking you to come and solve the bigger either farmer crisis in Nigeria. You probably also want to look at if there's a replica of that same thing, maybe in a small thing in your community, if that is what you're working on, tell that story in an efficient way using the storytelling approach and also the style approach that I've talked about to bring out data and information about the story. Talk about the achievements. No, this is what you've solved. This is the number of what you've been able to do. This is it, and of course, that is what really counts for them. So here they talked about how will your course equip you to contribute to solving this problem? Of course, to address, they also say to contribute to addressing that thing, not that to solve that thing 100%. They know only you cannot solve it. You make your own contribution towards solving it, because when everybody keep contributing, one day we're going to get there. So then they also ask that, why have you selected your particular university in the UK? How do you plan on how? So here you now talk about how do you plan to immediately apply the knowledge and skills you will gain after your studies. Maximum of 300 words. Sorry, there's an information I actually omitted initially, and that's that. Uh, if your plan is to, like, you want to jackpot, what we call jackpot, you want to relocate, you want to do something, if that is your plan, I'm sorry, Chevening is not for you, because for Chevening application you must return back to your country at least for a minimum of 2 years, because that's an agreement you sign with your government, with them, like which you must honor. Chevening wants you to learn, use that knowledge, go back to your community to continue solving problems, but for you to scale. That's the idea. So if you are like, I want to run away, so I'm not sure Chevening is for you. So but for people who still want to, who like, okay, I want to study, then go back, then of course you can apply for Chevening. So that is the idea. So yeah, and that's why they asked you that last part of how do you want to use the knowledge you've gotten, the skills, the knowledge immediately to solve the immediate problem in your society. So there are some tips I shared here. The first one is what? Identify a UK priority area that aligns with your choosing course. For instance, you like, okay, you solve that problem, you're studying law, you want to study, maybe you're a lawyer, and that's why you've been able to solve all those problems around police brutality and also like that. And you're like, okay, your course of interest is you want to study maybe criminal law, or maybe you're like international law, or maybe you want to do the course of masters. I mean, the masters program you've identified that you want to study is I'm trying to think of, or maybe it's around governance, it's around something that you're like, okay, fine, that's what will give you the required skill that you need to solve your problem, to solve the problem, to contribute towards solving the problem you've identified. So then you like identify that course. I mean, the priority area that you want to solve, and of course, how your that aligns with your course of study. Then next one talks about explain why and how your choosing course and university support addressing this priority area. So it's here to talk about how has the course you've identified, let's say for instance you chose, you want to study international human rights law, and you're like, and you want to study that course at the University of Oxford. So then you also have to talk about how would you study international human rights law at the University of Oxford help you to contribute towards solving your thematic, that's a priority area that you've identified earlier. So it's about you making an argument for the reason why you study in this. It's just like me making an argument to say the reason why I've chosen to study public policy at the University of Excess is because I want to strengthen my research skill, to do this, to be able to do this, to do that, to be able to contribute towards advancing governance and development in the global south, and to do this and to do that. That's me making a difference for the reason why I've chosen to study my course, and why I've also chosen my school in ahead of other schools. Because of course there are thousands of schools, there are numbers of schools there are hundreds of schools in the UK. They can also say, okay, fine, why not this school? Why not this course? Why not this? So you're making a case like, okay, this is the reason why this is, of course, and this is something information you will get from the department or from your school's website. You just need to do in-depth research. You probably also want to talk about what are the specific skills that this course would is going to, I mean, equip you with. So it might be research, it might be methodology, it might be, different set of things, it might be data, and also I'd like different things that this course is going to afford you to be able to solve the problem. And also, you might talk about the school, maybe the ranking of the school. Some people can use ranking to say my school is the number one school in the world, and that's the best school that I can actually get the required learnings that I need. Some might probably talk about, oh, I did some research and I saw that there is one professor in the school that is doing some research that aligns with my area of interest, that aligns with the problem I'm solving, and that's why I chose to, goes to this school to study this thing so that I can learn from this professor and use a practical solution from this professor to solve that. I use the academic and research solution from this professor to solve the real world, problem that aligns with my team. So it's for you giving different reasons why. Some might also talk about, oh, my school has one of the best community. Maybe there's a society, there's an African community, there's different society that I want to tap into, that I believe that this society is going to give me the needed, network, the needed skills that I need to be able to solve problem ABC. That's another perspective to it. You can also look at it from the angle of saying maybe the ranking of the school, it's going to be something that you need. Maybe it's a methodology, maybe it's a teaching methodology in your department, maybe it's a course. You also need to talk about the different reasons why you've chosen that school and the different things why you've chosen that course. The course, you can also use the course module itself. Maybe what the course module entails, that you learn this, you learn that, and also work in line with your program. I mean, in line with the problem you're solving. So is for you to be able to identify specifically and speak to it that this is why you've chosen this course and what this thing is going to give you to solve the problem. Remember, it must also align with what the priority area that you've identified. So I thought here I said you can explore specific modules of the course, teaching methodology, research interest of professors in your department, or maybe the school strength around ranking, student associations and society, and also like that. And I said finally, yeah, identify specific skills that the course will equip you with and explain how you will apply those skills immediately upon returning to Nigeria or to returning to your country to address the priority areas that you've aligned in there. So here you now want to talk about what you want to do immediately. Let's say, for instance, the course you're going to study is to strengthen your research skill, is to strengthen your communication skill, is to strengthen your advocacy skill. You probably want to talk about, okay, fine, upon returning back to your country, immediately after your program, you want to use your skills, the research skill, to conduct more research in this field. Remember, the fields must align with your priority area that you identify. In this field of interest, to be able to solve more problems, to provide more solutions, to provide more policy recommendation, and also, that would help you contribute more to that area of to that specific area they solve that they're actually working towards, targeting and solving, contributing towards that specific priority there they are contributing towards solving the problems in those areas. So you probably also want to look at that and speak into how those, and of course these are your plan. You maybe, oh, that your plan, then how do you want to do that? How do you want to do the research? You want to work with one organization, maybe the organization you're currently working with. You probably want to tell them that, oh yeah, I will get a study loan, a study leave to go study there. When I'm back, I use this knowledge to return back to this organization to be able to use this knowledge. Use the knowledge I've gotten there to acquire, to develop more programs, to design more initiative, to design, to do more things that would help you solve and contribute towards, that's thematic area. So you also, and of course, which is a foundational to what the knowledge you will get from your course of studies from the master's program you've done on in the UK. So next slide. So, and this is the last part of the essay, and of course, I feel more like maybe my last or second to the last slide as well. So here talks about the career plan and the impact. So here the question says that outline your medium and long-term career plans. Please relate your answer to key challenges or priority facing your country or region. Remember, you've been talking about it before, so it's just for you to reinforce it again that this is what you want to solve. What impact do you intend to make in your home country or region? How does your career plan connect with your course of study and the challenge or priority you've identified. Remember that the last part of the previous essay, you've give like a brief uh a brief step on what you want to do, a brief career plan, like okay fine, when you're done with your program, this is what you want to do, this is this. And so it's more, you see, all these essays are built up like this, must be connected, the four essay must be connected to each other. So that shows that okay, fine. When you talk about that, so here they're not asking you to now expand on your plan. If immediately your plan is to, do you want to solve this problem? You want to solve, so what's your medium term? What's your long term? So for this career plan, you can split it into let's assume the concluding part of your third essay, you give it to your first 2 years after when you return back to the country. And my first 3 years, this is what I want to do. Then from your year 3 to year 10, you can then split it in this your medium and long term. You can say from year 3 to year 7, to year 6, this is your medium term plan. This is what you intend to do. What is the career plan you want to work in? From year 7 to year 10 or to year 15, this is another thing you also want to do. So you also want to split them out, like okay, discuss about them one after the other. And of course, looking at using most of these tips to help you write it in a very concise way so that you will not exceed the maximum word count. So, yeah, they talked about and say that, okay, what barriers or obstacles might you face and how will you overcome them? And also, they also asked that you should do what? How will being a Chevening scholar help you achieve this ambition? This is now you telling them that what is that, me being a scholar in Chevening, how is it going to help me achieve this problem? So these are the tips that I also identified here. One is what I outline your medium term and long term ambition, tie them to addressing a national problem that aligns with your identified priority data. What is the problem you're solving in your community, in your country, that also align with that same priority data? Remember, it's the same priority data that you've been referring to. Consistency matters. So you have to keep from that. You cannot talk about maybe, oh, first essay is one priority data, second essay is another priority data. No, so identify just one priority data that the work you're doing aligns with, and then you keep flowing in that direction also. Then you also talked about explain how your course, yeah, they said, and also I said, okay, explain how your course and the skills you will be equipped with directly linked to achieving this goal. So what are the skills that you're going to get from your program, from your course of study, and how do you link it up to solving practically that will help you solve, or that will help you contribute towards solving the problem that you've identified, of course, which you want to dedicate that your same career towards achieving. And also, thirdly, yes, acknowledge possible challenges and your plan to overcome them. So, here is now you also want to talk about, emphasize some possible challenges that you've looked forward to. This is more about, for project managers, they know it's more about you identifying your risk. That what are the potential risks that you probably want to face in this career plan, and how do you intend to solve them? Perhaps, maybe for someone like me who works on governance and accountability, I probably might be talking about maybe funding challenges. I probably might be talking about, um, clash with governments, when or political will from governments, and how do when sometimes governments are really not interested in working in that direction. So these are the possible risks. And then I also want to talk about how the plans I have, how do I intend to actualize or to solve those, to overcome those challenges. Perhaps might be like, okay, fine, if whatever I probably design is coming from this, of course, and doesn't get political will, I might be talking about I intend to leverage network with the same alumni network who are highly influential in government, that can also help me facilitate this policy direction and enhance, influence this policy perspective, or maybe also to influence, engage with the community, work with the entire Chevening network as well, spread across the whole country, to mobilize as many people, to then turn it into certain public agenda where people then start, pressurizing their government on, oh, this is what is best for us, this is what is so. It's for you to find a way to be more creative around, writing or crafting your solution towards this issue. And finally, like I said, emphasize how Chevening supports, including the network. Remember, I just talked about how Chevening's network is going to help me now. Exposure, skills gain, and credibility, all of those opportunities that you get from Chevening, how it's going to help you amplify your impact and contribute to achieving the UK's priority in your country, and finally, and its SDGs. So, when you talk, of course, it's like Then I can also be talking about how the Chevening scholarship, like I said, the network is what I just said I'm going to use now. I probably want to talk about it, how the network, and also maybe you can also talk about how uh, m- maybe what Chevening will give you, the skills you're going to get, maybe even the opportunity for them funding you to study in so school, and also what you want to tap in from that school to use that to solve the problem you're solving, and then finally connect the your area of interest, your priority area connected to any of the sustainable development goals. That okay, fine. For instance, people working around governance, will tailor it back to SDG 16 that talks about peace, justice, and strong institution. That okay, fine, you're doing this, and this, if you're able to get this, you also be contributing towards solving this problem or contributing towards achieving the SDG 16 or maybe achieving the African Union. For you to now look into that, you're now putting it to say, like, the opportunity of achievement is not only that you're solving the priority area of achievement itself or of the UK government in your country, you're also looking into the global context of contributing as well to solving most of these global goals itself. So I think that's the entire thing around the whole four essays that are actually the tips, what you really need and how you should what you should put in mind when you're crafting most of these essays. One of the beautiful thing here is the fact that the word count has been reduced to 300. Initially it was 500, that's about 2,000 words. So now it's about 300 each, which is 1,200. Yeah, it means that you're going to write less. But another problem, the challenges there is that you need to be more concise with your words and your essay to be able to tell a meaningful story within that 300 words. Next slide. So here is to talk about the final tips and takeaway that what we should bear in mind. Like I said, it's just more to give a recap. One is reflect, like I said, reflect deeply and build a milestone timeline to identify impactful experience. Yeah, what I mean here is I understand some people have many things they're doing. They're like, oh, I've done this. They're focusing in different thematic area. They're doing this. So you need to take your time, take a deep breath, list them out, identify all of them. What are the milestones? What are the impacts? What are the learning? Then you now find a way to do some sort of grouping, categorization. Are there those that you can categorize together, put them together, and you're like, okay, this in this area you have more strength here. Then I think wherever you have more strength is what you should push forward, and where you have less stress, you can put them down or be more silent on those ones. So you should focus more on your strength to be able to tell a more credible and more convincing story. So second one here, I said be specific, use data and numbers to quantify your outcome, as well as the institution's name where necessary. Here is talking about specificity. You know, don't be vague, be realistic. Talk about maybe, oh, you've done one project with one organization, or you did this, or for instance, you're like, okay, I engage in one police station. You can't just say police station, you must be more specific. Yeah, okay, so community police station is what I did this with. I trained their staff, I trained 15 people, I led 3 people, we're able to mobilize 25 people to train these 25 people to do, those numbers are more valuable. As small as they are more valuable and quantifiable. So, it's also like use data, use numbers to quantify the outcome. What is the result? Quantify them. Let them know that, oh, yeah, he said he has reached out to 25 people. He has impacted 15 people. He has impacted 10 million people. You should be able to quantify those numbers, and of course use realistic name that okay, fine, these names are here, this is this and this is that. And thirdly, connect your stories to the UK priority. I've been saying this right from the beginning. Your first essay connected to the priority area. Second, all your essays should be connected to this priority area. Here I also said that ensure clarity, be more clear about what you're saying, and please do not use AI or plagiarize. Don't say, oh, because Abdullah has gotten Chevening, please give me your essay. I want to use it to do that. And you now take my own story and write it for them. No, apparently it's not going to do you anything, because when you get, even if you scale through that level, like you're like when you get to the interview level to defend your essay, you probably might not be able to scale through that defense, so it becomes a problem. So here I also talked about ensure English proficiency, and seek help reviewing your essays before submitting. Of course, make sure you're doing, at least you're able to put a very good grammatical error free essay, and of course seek review from different people to help you look, have a third eye to look at your essay before you submit. And if you are confident of yourself, yeah, of course you can write and submit once and for all. And here we also say, ensure you secure an unconditional offer in any of your choosing university or course before the deadline. There's an education deadline. It used to be for people applying this year, I know it will be next year, July. I think maybe July 10 or July 12 or thereabout, that you must have an unconditional offer before then. So please make sure that so that it won't be that you got Chevening and you don't have admission. So make sure from any of the three schools that you've identified in your essay, that you in your application that you're applying for, get at least one unconditional offer from any one of them. It is very important. Very, very important. In previous years, during the interview, if you're shortlisted for interview, you have the grace to change, make some changes, make any changes you want to make. Maybe, for instance, you want to change your university, you tell them reason why you want to change that university, and of course, you tell them there. So, which perhaps is very. But anything after your interview, you can't change, make any changes. You can't change anything. That sticks that way. So, which means, please, before your interview, make sure you have at least one unconditional offer from any of your three schools, so that you won't be in a situation that, oh, you got Chevening, which is crazily competitive, but unfortunately you don't have admission. So please don't do that. At least the course you've applied for. And if there's a case like, oh, maybe you did not get admission and you want to change before your interview, make sure you have that unconditional offer in those school that you've changed, and you must bring some concrete reason, very tangible reason for you to want to change. Please don't say and tell them that it's because I don't have admission. No, you must probably want to tell them the reason. Oh, maybe you've eventually got a better school, or you get a better professor here that have more than what you need, more than what you're going to get, that will help you solve this problem in this school. There, of course, that's a way to. That's a tangible reason, justification for changing. I also say that ensure you secure an okay, and finally, like I said, pray and be hopeful. Thank you. I think that comes to the end of my presentation. So I am open to questions,
Hello.
contribution.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that amazing and wonderful presentation. And we also thank our listeners for staying in touch with us from the beginning to this end of the presentation. Thank you, Scholar Abdullah. Thank you so much for that power pack presentation. One thing for me in this presentation is how you made three unsuccessful attempts and still went again the fourth time, and then you got it. So, I mean, this is a lesson. This is a lesson of resilience here for everyone listening. Many of you might have applied also. A year ago, 2 years ago, and you want to give up. You don't have to give up, because at his fourth attempt, he got a fully funded Chevening scholarship. So very quickly, we are going to be projecting some of the questions we have here for Scholar Abdullah to help us address those questions. All right. The first question we have here says that for someone to be displayed on the screen, for someone in a non-STEM, what it can help deliver a suitable research essay?
Okay. Okay. Should I respond to that?
All right. Yeah.
Okay. I would say that you said for someone in non-STEM,
Yeah.
how do you deliver? What ins can help deliver a suitable research
Research.
essay?
Yeah.
Apparently, let me say that of course, how Chevening was structured is not fundamental or foundation around maybe you have to do a research essay. Like I said, most of this the four essay that I just it's more on leadership. So it's now for you to, irrespective of, that's the beautiful thing with Chevening, irrespective of where you fall into, in as much you're able to demonstrate that you're leading in solving a problem and contributing to societal growth and contributing to humanity, certainly you have the chance to apply. So it does not necessarily mean that you should be STEM or in non-STEM. Take for instance, what I'm studying is public policy, which is non-STEM. It's more from social sciences, health, and some people categorize it around law and political science and also like that. So, which is non-STEM. It's not a STEM program. So apparently, I am here, and of course, it's about me talking about my leadership experience, how I've been solving problems, I've been contributing to solving societal issue, and of course, how the need to achieving scholarship opportunity will help me scale my impact from point A to point Z. So it's not specifically because you are in STEM or you're not in STEM. This is not like the perspective of the US where you are to write a statement of purpose tailored to your specific course. Chevening application is looking in from the leadership perspective because they are cultivating a community of leaders, not, of course, then leaders can then come from, certainly research is a tool of solving a problem. You probably want to research to dig down into what the problem is to be able to solve the problem. So that's more like some sort of skills that you're going to get along the line, but it's not foundationally major. I mean that, oh, the scholarship opportunity is because you must be a researcher, you must be this. No, it's for everybody. Even people working in bank. I have friends who studied computer science, who else, of course, who got Chevening Scholarship. I have people who studied biotechnology who got scholarship, certainly. And of course, it's about how they're able to tell their leadership story, how they're able to tell the networking skill, how they've used it, how they're also able to connect the problem they're solving, the course they are doing to solving the society, a global problem, a national and global problem, and how that same course would help them, in their career path to be able to do more work that would help, contribute towards that policy they have that they've identified. So I hope I've been able to respond to that
All
question.
right, all right. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Scholar. The next question we have here says that for someone who is an art student, how can he begin his scholarship research? Maybe searching for schools, like how to search for schools. Yeah.
Okay, if this is talking about school, because I wanted to say that it's a bit related to the previous question, but
Okay.
if
Okay.
this is talking about school, like specifically, like I said, Chevening, you apply to Chevening separately, you apply
Mm.
to school separately. So if this is talking about school, the first is when you've identified the course you want to do. Even on Chevening platform, on Chevening's website, there's a page that talks about find your school or find achievement partner schools or find course where you can put in the course of interest you want to study. It's going to give you a list of all universities in the UK that offers that course or that offers something related to that course. Then you can now start searching, looking into those schools one after the other to look at area of interest. Remember, you only just want to pick three. You only just want to apply to three of them for achievement.
Mm.
So you now start looking into what distinguish school A from school B from school C. Why do you think our school A is the best for me to get the required skills that I need to contribute towards solving this problem or to stand a chance? Why do you think it's school B that you want to do this? Why do you think it's school C? So that's and of course you also want to arrange them in that hierarchy of, oh, this is my first choice, this is my second, this is my third. So it's left to but of course on the on Chevening's platform you will see that and of course it's going to take you to a link. You see a link that take you from all the schools to the school's website itself, where you can also start reading about the school, about the course itself. When you go to the school, you also see where you can find your course as well, where you can then look for your course specifically and dig down to understand what this course entail itself. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Scholar. The next question says, is finding it difficult to write SOP and the research proposal? I'm not sure if you need a research proposal for Chevening. And yeah, over to you.
Well, like I think you've answered that. You don't need
Yeah.
a research proposal for Chevening. You
Yeah.
also what the SOP you don't need for Chevening, you probably will need for your school, for the application to your school. It depends on what the school requires. Of course, most UK schools requires you to write an SOP, personal statement. But to be honest, to be frank with you, getting admission to UK school is the easiest. I think it's the easiest. It's easy, but the problem is to get funding. So that's the
Okay.
challenge. So funding is the most difficult, but admission to UK school I think is a bit easy. It's just for you to read all requirements. Even some of them will even give you guide on how to write your SOP, what you need to put there, what you need to do. So just look deep down in your school. One of the reasons why, yeah, of course, and there are some different materials that you can leverage to package your SOPs for UK schools admission for masters and that's for. But for Chevening, of course, that's you're doing Chevening separately, you're applying to the school separately.
All right. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This person says, can they connect with you? Can they have your contact that they would like to reach out to you? So I think is LinkedIn is already on the screen, and
Uh,
also is X page. But I don't know if you want to contribute to that as well.
Well, I actually want to say that the slide you're showing, I've actually answered that. I've responded to that. That's my LinkedIn name is there.
All
That's
right.
my X accounts. And of course, you can reach out to me, anyone from there, and certainly.
All right. Someone also is also asking if they can get the PDF of the presentation.
I assume that, well, I don't know. I don't have the emails of the participants, but one thing I know that, of course, this session is being recorded, and you can always go back to it on, of course,
Yeah.
on YouTube, of which you can always see all the slide there.
Yeah. Yeah. And they can always reach out to you as well, just like your contact
Absolutely.
is projected.
Absolutely.
And another question, which is going to be from me, is that for Chevening, for Chevening, can you always apply depend regardless of your field of study, or it's just open to some specific field of study, you know, based on those priority areas?
Well, like I said earlier, like it's open to everybody.
Okay.
But the most important thing is how do you connect the course you want to do, you want to study? How do you connect what you are doing, those two things, into those priority areas?
Okay.
Because what they are funding is categorically on those priority area. So you must be able to connect your story to those priority area. You probably want to say you're doing maybe you're doing what's the name, religious studies. You want to go study religious studies. It's for you to now find a way to how do you connect it
Okay.
to those priorities that which I would give an example of connecting religious study. You might talk about maybe the problem you're solving is around conflicts, is around what's the name, conflict, insecurity, and also like that. And you probably have identified that the challenge is the religious gap.
Hmm.
Maybe that's the reason why you're like, oh, fine, you're doing this naturally as a religious person, you're doing A, you're doing B, and you're like, you don't want to understand diplomacy, you're in religious settings, and how- it's for you to now find a way to. Then that's why you want to study this religious whatever study at the UK, which you've made a case for yourself. So if you get in to get the knowledge, and of course that knowledge, so what you're looking there is to look around religious diplomacy, religious, how do you handle religious issue to solve conflict and also like that. So you've tailored it back to irrespective of the course you want to study, you have to take it back to the priority areas that you're solving. So if you look at this priority area, it's more like the global problem. It's more like the entire problem that when you wake up and you think deep, you would see that there's everything you are doing or whatever you want to study is in one way or the other connected to those priority area.
Okay.
So
All right. All right.
yeah.
Thank you. Finally, let's say I already have a master's degree before. Can I still apply for Chevening Scholarship?
Absolutely, you can apply for achievement if you have a master's degree. But this is the clause. One, if of course, if it's listed in your application that you've applied for, you have a master's degree, your education requirement that, oh, I have masters before in this place, blah, 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 in this course. And of course, so which means that the other masters you're applying for with Chevening is not the same master's. You can't tell me that I have a master's in public policy and I'm here to study public policy again. The only reason they're going to probably consider that is maybe I want to give them another perspective to public policy. Like I said, it still boils down to how are you able to tell the story? Why do you want to do another master's? Why do you want to do this course? I can tell them that, okay, maybe my previous master's in public policy focuses more on political science. And I'm like, this does not help me solve this problem. I need a public policy master's that looks into development. I need a public policy master's that looks into political economy. Then I bring another part because public policy is broad. I can say I need a public policy master that look into human rights issue, and so then this is what is going to help me solve this problem. So this one I have, not that I'm condemning it, is also playing a role, is doing his own part, but then it's not enough to help me solve this. So that's why I need you people to invest this £50,000 on me to be able to get this other perspective of this course. So it's for you to, how are you able to now, coin that story. Of course, there are different, if you go to even in let's say for instance, public health, I think is the most broad sector that I know when it comes to postgraduates, or and also mass communication, journalism, and also communication study. Communication too is very, very broad. You might have a master's in one area of communication and you want to move to another area of communication. In public health as well, you might have masters in public health, and maybe you want to move into epidemiology, you want to move into biostatistics. There are different sectors. So it's for you to now be able to tell your story convincingly that okay, fine, there's need to make this investment. So
All
I think
right.
that answers your question.
Yes, yes, perfectly. Thank you. Thank you so much again for the presentation and for the answers to all our questions. I think we've exhausted all the questions. Thank you a lot for joining us. And also thank you to our listeners for also taking their time to follow us from the beginning of this program to the end of this program. Do you have any final word before we leave?
Well, for me, I don't have much. I just want to wish everybody the best. Like I said, sometimes, yeah, we'll be lucky to have it once. Sometimes we might not, but then that does not justify, or that does not, define who we are. And the spirit more there is about we keep doing what we're doing, evolving every day, persevering, keep learning, and of course keep growing. So I'm sure that with that you certainly would get it. Maybe not immediately, maybe subsequent one you probably but in as much you are not like defined to say, because this got me rejected, I've rejected myself, I can't get this anymore. No, that doesn't define you. You can always take it forward. And of course, for also people who probably got it on their first application, it's a fantastic one. And of course, I would say that it's a very, very good network that you can explore to grow. Yeah. And I wish everybody the best.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Scholar Abdullahi. With this, we've come to the end of this session, and we hope that our listeners will join us again for another interesting session come next month. See you again. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you all.
Thank you for having me.